Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your patience. We'll get going very shortly. If you're on our YouTube live stream, I can't see the chat this evening. So if you're on there, you're more than welcome to join us. Just follow the link so you can ask questions. Other than that, I can't see the chat, so I can't answer your questions, but you're more than welcome to watch this live stream. Thank you. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to this evening's AUDJPY Securities webinar, Forex Trading Live Market Analysis. My name is Duncan Cooper. Before we get into it, if you can read through the risk disclaimer, that would be great. Any questions, you can put them into the question and answer box or the chat box. I've got both open. So just read through the risk disclaimer before we get into it. So obviously I'm doing some analysis tonight. If you're going to be trading tonight, based on the analysis, you're making your own trading decisions. Any advice I'm giving you tonight is general at best. It's not specific advice to you. All right, let's get into it. If you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor here at AUDJPY Securities. And I'm a full-time trader, been training for more than 15 years and mentoring clients for more than 10. If you want to contact me, you can get me on the email on screen, duncan.cooper@audy.com. And if you want to connect with me through the week at our audy.com website, on the Market News tab, you'll get my analysis there. At our YouTube channel, AUDJPY Securities Australia, you can get me there. And you can connect with me personally if you wish on Twitter and LinkedIn. And as well through the week, if you want to connect with me in our channel, Telegram channel, then I'm providing analysis based around the webinar education, looking at support and resistance trends, key trading levels that I'm monitoring, any price patterns that I'm seeing. I'm posting in there through the week. If you want to get access to that, contact Nathan Bray at audy.com, nathan.bray. I'll put his details in the chat right now. So just bear with me a moment. And Nathan, it might take a couple of days for him to get back to you, because at the moment, I spoke to him this afternoon. His lovely fiance himself are at the hospital at the moment. She's about to give birth, so hopefully everything's going well for him, or they. So hopefully I'll touch base with him tomorrow, but he might not get back to you over the next couple of days because he might be otherwise busy, but there we go. He'll get back to you for sure. All right, let's just have a look at what news is coming out for the day before we get into the charts. So let me just bring up the news if I can get that page to come up. All right, so today we've had, just refresh that. Don't know why it's not refreshing. I've already refreshed it once today. We've had the RBA cash rate come out today, increase 50 base points. Coming up later in the day, 11:45 p.m. got the US Financial Services PMI and the ISM Services PMI on midnight. All right, and then in the morning tomorrow, we've got the 11:30 Yen Aussie GBPJPY. All right, so just make a note of what's coming out. You should always know what's coming out. So I look at this at the start of the week. I do you guys a little video at the start of the week telling you what's coming out. And I don't try to really guess too much what's going to happen to the price action, other than be aware of the high volatile items that are coming out. And if I'm not way ahead in profit on a trade, I might close it down. I might wait to take a trade after the event, but not just ahead. That's how I do things. All right, so be aware what's coming out at the moment. We've got interest rate decisions for the Aussie today. It's already been done. We've got Eurozone interest rates on Thursday. We've got Canadian interest rates moving into, where are we? Moving into Thursday on the midnight. We've got Canada interest rates. So a number of interest rates coming out. So be aware of those. All right, let's get into the charts. All right, I might just have to stop a few times to cough. I'm still struggling a bit. I couldn't do Thursday's webinar. You had the pleasure of Nathan's company last Thursday. All right, let's get into, first of all, what the dollar index is doing now. I don't know whether anybody's noticed, but on the monthly chart, we are heading towards, I know we're still going up in a trend. Well, we are heading towards a major 79% retracement level. We've moved through the last resistance level that I've been discussing at 109.24. Now we're moving up to the next one toward 111.31. All right, now, not seeing any trend of change. Just noting that we've got a 79% retracement level here. All right, often that can be where price action starts to want to fail. Not saying it's failing at the moment. If I draw a fib from this, I just want to see what happens from that low to high. We obviously pulled back to about the 79% level. We're up beyond the 127 extension. I just wanted to see where the 127 extension and 162 level comes in. So we'll be on the 127. So we are fairly stretched in terms of the bigger picture move there, but we are still managing to keep moving up. All right. So no change of trend as of yet, but I'm just wary of where things are. I made some general commentary last week that, some of these pairs I'm feeling like they're too far down to the US. However, they've still been moving down, especially the pound dollar. So the weekly at the moment, we've actually had, doesn't quite show there because of the day chart. That's in an uptrend. On the day chart, we had a bit of a gap up yesterday. And now, we're putting in a little top there. So really, what we want to see, if the US dollar is going to keep powering on, it doesn't want to get back below 109.24. Okay, this monthly resistance level that we moved above. So just be aware of the position. We're at the 79% level there. So it needs to keep on moving on if we're going to keep going. I'm noticing, if we have a bit of a pullback and this MACD crosses down here on daily, this is going to be a lower top on the MACD at the moment. So can't say that's going to happen yet, but that would be a lower top if we started to see some negativity. But at the moment, still strength showing. S&P 500 still showing lower tops and bottoms moving down. It's just at a little day chart area of support here. Whether that's going to mean anything. In fact, what I will do is, we failed at 62% of this monthly move down. But let's just have a close look on the weekly, because the weekly trend is up. So that actually is a level of weekly support that we moved to. And just wanted to see what this weekly trend is at the 62% retracement there as well. So, is the monthly trend dominating and we're just going to continue moving down? Or this level of weekly support here, I can find out what number it is. 394439. All right, be interesting to see how price over the next couple of trading days, if this starts to hold here, move up, we'll probably see the dollar index move down. So it'll be interesting to see. Well, of course, we're below that level. Are we going to move further down? But if we do start to put, move above that top there, this is looking potentially then like a 62% retracement to weekly support to move up and put another potential leg up that way. So, just keep monitoring the position. What's it doing? We might I'm still feeling like we might be at the time where we might start to see a bit of a reversal. I don't know. I'm a little bit on the fence on things at the moment, because as well, if we just quickly duck into gold, this is getting very much down to support from the major monthly. This is a weekly view, but major monthly lows down here. I've been thinking, are we going to put in a higher bottom there as well? So the day structure here is still down. It's just yesterday rejected that old level of support on the daily. But, you know, this could be putting a bottom in here too. So we're just at some levels where the market could decide it wants to change its trend. So we'll just have to monitor. So I'm just going to click through the pairs, see what's going on. Been having some movement through the Asian session, and then a bit of a change of movement as we're heading into London. And some of these pairs don't seem too correlated at the moment. Aussie pairs, well, the Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar are moving down, but the other pairs, the US dollar, don't seem to be quite as aggressively moving down. So let's see if I'm seeing something that I like imminently. I don't think there is. Things that I'm watching. So we'll start with the Aussie Yen. I'm not in this pair at the moment. Notably, it's been moving up here. And this is the day chart up to this weekly resistance level. There's always a possibility that we're going to stall at the top here and stay within this range and move back down. At the moment, though, we're above that level. So at the moment, this is 95.73 to 95.75, two weekly tops here. Can we close above here? Can we start to move up to challenge the next weekly top? We've kind of challenged last week's high at the moment. This is all higher tops and bottoms still, like these up. So everything's still up. It's just very aware that we're at some form of resistance area here. The monthly chart suggests that we're going up. Here it is, higher bottom, top, higher bottom. Are we going to be moving up and through there long term? The weekly is putting in a high top now. So that lower bottom came in when we put in a higher bottom on the monthly. So it's just not the best place to be a buyer, but I don't see it failing either, that resistance area at the moment. So it's a pair that I'm not in at the moment. What I would like to, I'm actually bullish general terms. I think we're going to be moving up through this area over time, just with the overall structure on the monthly chart. So with that being said, I'll drop to my 15, back to my 4 hour. It would be nice to see 95.73 become support that you could trade up off. Okay, so this is the 4 hour here. Looks like intraday today we actually have touched 95.73 and got some form of support. That was this area here, but over the next 24 hours, you know, monitoring 95.73. You know, if we move a little bit higher today, tomorrow potentially we could have another pullback to that level to hold. It could pull back today and hold. All right, 95.73 is definitely the line in the sand. Is that level now going to be the support level to move higher on a pullback? Who wants to pull back? Or, you know, do we falter and move below it? Today, we're definitely wanting to hold above it. We've held here. So what's that level? Of course, if we continue up today, tomorrow you could be watching 9600 to be a level of support to move up. All right, but just be cautious in this area, being that we're in this resistance area up here. Okay, so it is holding its uptrend. I mean, ideally it would have been great if you got long back here somewhere. So then you're not worrying about having to try and get in engaging at resistance. But things that could happen, we could get support at 95.73, move up to test 96.87. That level could hold trade down. All right. Or we could fail at 95.73 and start to move back down. You know, the range trade that I showed you, let's say the range is across here. Folks broke there. You know, if we start to want to hold below 95.75, then if you can get short close to that top, putting your stop at the 127 extension, we could be trading all the way back down to the bottom of the range. Or you could be waiting for price to start to want to move below the 79% level of that range before you engage. So there could be a range trade down, or we could still be moving up. So it needs to show what it wants to do. All right. So I've covered that for you. Aussie dollar today has wanted to be moving down after being up in the early stages of the day. So today, this monthly low, 68.26, the monthly low is actually further left, but this is a weekly low at the same level. We're within a pip or two, 68.26. There's been some form of resistance today to trade down to daily support here at 67.61 now. The actual trend is down. Let's get rid of that fib. There's your weekly look. It's down. It could be potentially moving down to test this low and move through. There's also the other side of the equation. Something in my head keeps telling me that I don't know if we've put a final bottom here for the short term. So I'm just monitoring this, putting my fib the other way, because we're at the in the 79% area and day support here. So I'm just monitoring that area between 67.78 down to 67.61. You know, are we going to see a movement that way? All right. Price isn't doing anything to tell me that at the moment. I've just got this thing in my head that I don't know if we're too far down. The US dollar index as an index is very well overextended at the moment. You know, we've had months and months and months of movement up. How many more months can it keep going up before it has some kind of pullback? All right, so just watching that area for, does it start to show some bullish price action? At the moment, it's not, but we could be, we're rather consolidatory here on the 4-hour charts, and we could false break these lows, these 4-hour lows we formed last week, and move back up. If we start to move back above the 79% level at 67.78, false break these lows, then we could start to move back up. All right, back up the range. So I'm just monitoring this area. Do I see structure starting to form that suggests a reversal? It's not in a position right now for me to sell it, because I'm not going to sell into support. So if it came back up and failed at resistance, I could, you know, up here at 68.26 again, I could look to sell down, but at the moment, I'm not going to sell it here because it's into support. And Slavy saying Aussie could probably go to 100% retracement and then might go up. It could do. Yeah, it could do. It could move all the way down to support down here and then hold or break through. I don't know, you know, going back to that dollar index, I just feel after all these months of moving up, and, you know, as I was saying, explaining, it's in the 127 extension, it's at the 79% level of the larger range. So it's in an area where we could get some selling pressure. All right, I'm very aware of that. So I'm a little bit reluctant to, I don't want to sell too low down here. So it needs to bounce up for me to be a seller, because I'm not going to sell into support. And Slavy's now saying, so you're in this pair at the moment and you're asking me a strategy for closing it. Well, where did you get in? What price did you get in, Slav? 66,870. All right. So let me just go to the 4-hour. All right, so you got in up here somewhere. Well, I mean, having a risk reward of 1 to 2 would be ideal. I mean, the thing to monitor is, does 67.61 break? If that breaks down, then, you know, you could be managing your trade by simply moving your stop down above these highs. for example, or you could be, you know, this obviously is a cautionary level where the market might not want to break. You could start to maybe lock in profit and have you stop, say, 50 pips away, for example, whatever you're comfortable with. But you're probably aware that we're getting to where the bottom could come in at any point if it really wanted to. So you need some way of managing the trade and locking some profit. All right. You know, personally, if I was trading this myself and I started to see this hold and starting to move back above the 79% level, I'd be starting to get concerned that, you know, your entry at 68.70, you know, is going to get retested. So I would certainly put some kind of locking mechanism of some form of locking the profit as price is wanting to move down. All right. Repay, you got a question. Mentioned that the dollar index is stretched. I often find that the yen stretches a lot, but you usually don't find it stretched and trust its trend. How do you trust the yen stretch as well? What I tend to do is once it's stretched, I get very concerned that I'm getting in, you know, in the ladder part of a move. And we take this Aussie, for example, and let's just restructure this from a weekly perspective, which is in a downtrend, and we've had this retracement on the weekly chart. Now, I actually got in here at 7,100 for a short. So that was a perfect area up there for getting in. But when we're dealing with being stretched, this really isn't stretched in terms of this Fibonacci tool. But when it gets down to the 127 extension, it would be. So if I was dealing with any pair, you know, if I was looking to be a seller on a pair that's in a downtrend, what I'm trying to do is get in the early part of the starting phase to move down up here. I'm looking to get out support or at the 127 extension. So when I'm monitoring a pair and I can see that it's beyond the 127 extension, like the dollar index I was showing you, if I could do the same thing on a yen pair, I'm not going to be opening trades at those levels. I'm going to be closing trades at those levels. That's my profit levels. It's not my level to open a trade. All right. My level to open a trade from shorting is up here at the 62 to 79, trading down to 127. So down here, if that's where price is, I'm not going to open a trade. For me, it's just too far down. Now, it can still obviously move further down. And then you're sitting there going, it's still moving down. I'm not getting in, but you're definitely getting in closer to the bottom. All right. So I always try to get in at the height of the retracement or the low of the pullback rather than as we're moving down towards the extension area. Okay. So there's still potentially some time left in that. I'm just monitoring the position of the dollar index and thinking, well, if that's overstretched, can this go down much further? All right. Time will tell. So if we do break below 67.61, for those that want to still engage on the Aussie dollar, you might find over the next few days that if we get a clear break below 67.61, then you could look for that level to become resistance for an opportunity to trade down on a setup. But at the moment, it's acting as some form of support at the moment here. So that's what I'll be looking for. If you want to engage, wait for a break of that level, look for a rally back up to that level and hold. All right, Euro Yen, which is, I'm in this pair. Got in down at 136.86, so I'm enjoying this pair at the moment. Now, I'm just going to take a few lines off so we can see things a lot clearer. All right, just the monthly chart. Like I was saying on the Aussie Yen, putting in another higher bottom, just structure looks very much like it's in a trend. All right, it is coming up to retest that monthly top at 141.04 from back in time over here. But other than that, it's in a clear uptrend. The weekly trend if I'm using these significant highs and lows, is actually in a downtrend, but I think that will change we've actually put in a bottom here and then another minor higher bottom here and taken out a minor top here. So for me, that's more in an uptrend in the short term when I'm using the closer price action of these tops. All right, obviously at the moment it's testing that monthly level. Put my other levels back in. It's coming up to a daily level as well. So this week we've just moved above this weekly top here. We couldn't move above, well, we moved above that top last week, but we couldn't get above it. But now we're moving above 139.99, so let's call that 140.100. And we're pretty much testing 141.100 at the moment. Day trend's clearly up. So you really just got to be cautious of 141.100 up to 141.39 at the moment. Don't be a buyer in there. Now look for some kind of intraday pullback if one can come. I posted in the Telegram today, you know, when price was here, could we pull back to a central pivot point? Well, it couldn't. So the fact that it got nowhere near the central pivot point today and then just went up all day just tells you that this pair is very strong. So, you know, don't go look shorting it. Look to try to be a buyer. I mean, this could sell down today from this resistance area. So I'd be looking at 140.100 area to be support. It might not get down there at all. You know, tomorrow through today, we might break above 141.04 and 141.39. You could be looking at any one of those levels for a pullback tomorrow to become support. Cameron, yes, did something happen to the yen? They all went up. No, they're just going, you know, the yen's just depreciating. To my knowledge, nothing specific has come out in the news. They're just in a trend and the yen's further depreciating. The euro yen, for example, they're expecting 0.75 base point rise on the euro side this week. Interest rates aren't changing on the yen side, so that favors the euro yen going up from an interest rate differential point of view. So market's probably anticipating, yes, 0.75 interest rate change is coming for sure. And they're just getting on board, you know. All right. So, of course, quite a number of these pairs, they're not in the position right now to be a buyer. It's what can you plan for the next day or two? We could pull back to 140 here on the euro yen. That could become support. We just move to the 4-hour chart or back above to the day chart. If we start to move above these levels, these could start to be support to move up over the next trading day. Got to be cautious. This top over here at 142.31. I'm trying to trade my trade all the way up to the 144.24 level. 142.31.9. All right, so get those levels on your charts. Hopefully we can move above these two levels. And then 141.39 becomes support for the market to trade up off. All right, we could pull back down to 140. But, you know, that's the range for the day in all probability. You don't want to be buying at the top of the day. All right, so look to the next day for that pair. You know, today it couldn't get down to the central pivot point. So wherever the central pivot point forms tomorrow, we may well only get to the central pivot point on the pullback. Find support, put the low in for the day to move up. So look for that tomorrow. All right, but just make sure you're not buying straight into resistance up here at the top of the day. Euro dollar. Now I'm going to go to my other charts for the euro dollar. And I've got a range trade set up here. We look at the day chart. We're on 99.04 weekly support if you go back in time. There's another level of weekly support here at 99.52, which I could put back in, which we're just contending with. We spent most of the week above 99.52 last week. So there's been some dealing above that level, but what I'm looking at is this range here. These are lows here and there. So I might take that line off because it kind of messes up with my range. This range here. All right. We false broke it yesterday. Rejected. Are we moving up to the top Are we then moving higher up? Maybe. Time will tell. Of course, we can move lower. But, and in fact, before I put my fib in, it's worth saying that, the actual trend is down, of course. So whilst there's a range here and you could be trading up from the base, the overall trend is down. So when I'm dealing with a range and I know whether there's a long-term trend, my preferred option generally is always to be trading down from the top of the range rather from up from the bottom of the range. However, you just need to make your choice yourself. So, if I'm sitting here thinking, okay, this isn't a range, I'm going to trade it down from the top of the range. Well, it would have to get there, wouldn't it? So with that in mind, then maybe there is an opportunity to trade up. So with my range trade, what I like to do is buy at the base. Stop goes at the 127 extension. So we could have done that yesterday. If I miss that opportunity, I like to get in by the 79% level. So we've just touched that level on the last candle and then put my stop below the low here. So there's still an opportunity to get in. Potentially it could sneak back down to the 79. You put your stop below the low here, and then you can be you're watching to see if this wants to move up the range. All right, to the top of the range. Then you could be looking to trade down from the top of the range. So the top of the range at the moment is at 10090. So approximately the 101 level. All right. So that's what I'm seeing there in the euro. Of course, we've got the interest rate decision coming out Thursday. So this could well stay range bound ahead of that data. Okay. Pound yen, I posted some analysis on this today. I've been discussing on the weekends the possibility of weekly support here being, there's 3 weekly lows here being support for the market to move up long term to weekly resistance. And got day support here. Let me just put these 2 lines in. I've got it on my other charts, so I'll save some time. So we've got weekly support down here, these 3 lows, 1, 2, and 3. Got day support here at 160.80, which creates this very narrow range. And I said today we might get a breakout. So what I'm looking for is whether or not it'll give it, because it's flying up there at the moment, is can it pull back now to this support? Was resistance is support to be a base to move further up. All right, we're having a very strong breakout. We could get a very strong move up to the top of the range there. At least it might break out the top of the range. After long periods of consolidation, you'll often get a very strong trend. So we're clearly breaking up today. So it would be good if we could pull back to 162.68. It may not, because it's almost 200 pips above there now. But getting into tomorrow, for our chart, so having a look, getting into tomorrow, if we continually keep this bullish structure going, I don't think this can pull back to 162.68. We can monitor that. That just looks like it's going too strong. I would be looking tomorrow for an opportunity where, like, it could just pull back to the central pivot point, hold, put the low in for the day, look for an opportunity to trade up. All right, that's very strong at the moment. I wouldn't want to be buying at the top of the day, but if we can get some form of pullback, ideally to the central pivot point for the lower day tomorrow, that would be awesome. And Cameron, would it maybe just pull back to last month's high? Let's have a look where that is. All right, last month's high. Well, yes, it could. So yeah, if you got my charts, last month's high is at 163.92. So that's almost the figure. So go to the 50-minute chart. So last month's high is just here. So, wherever price is tomorrow, for sure, now that we're above last month's high, a pullback to that level could be definite support in line with that figure level as well. Yeah, well spotted. Yeah, just depends where price is. I mean, depending on where price is, we've got last week's high here too. So if price was to pull back intraday today, you can watch last week's high as well, 162.64. Where does the central pivot point form tomorrow? All right. Doesn't look like, that looks very strong. It's like the Euro Yen. Hasn't got anywhere near the central pivot point today. So, back to daily, look, without knowing exactly where it's going, I would anticipate it's coming up to the weekly resistance here, first off, 166.33. And then this final high up here, 168.72 as my second target. And then, of course, we could move through there. So it's getting on board. If you're not already on board, it's already moved 200 pips today. So looking to tomorrow, yes, as you said, Cameron, you could see where price is in relation to last month's high or last week's high. Look at where the central pivot point is. Often price on a strong trend will just pull back to the central pivot point. That's a really good area to look to engage. So, I would want that to pull back a bit to get in. It's way too high up at the moment in terms of its current move. All right, so something to monitor. It's suddenly woken up. So, getting in on some intraday pullback would be ideal. All right, pound dollar. This is, the pound dollar has been sold off very strongly. And whilst that's been selling off very strongly, the pound yen's been doing nothing because that's been moving down very strongly. Dollar yen's been moving up very strongly. So the balance between those two currency pairs to make the pound yen means that the pound yen's been very flat. However, after moving down yesterday and then moving into today, pound dollar is showing some relative strength. Like we're not getting nowhere near the central pivot point today. Now, trend is clearly down. This is my weekly picture. Who was asking me before? I think it was you. Was it you? Rupay, I think you said about being overstretched. So this is the weekly picture of the pound where we had a rally just about back almost to the 62 and we're down at the 127 extension. We're almost down to this major monthly level of support at 1409. We went down yesterday to 114.43. All right, now we're at historical levels of support down here. And like the euro dollar, it's contending with parity. We're at some numbers where the markets, I feel, are starting to think we're at some cheap prices at the moment. That's why I'm getting a little bit edgy about engaging, selling some of these pairs, because just in terms of the fib structure here, we're in the profit taking zone. So I don't want to be selling there, generally speaking, and I don't want to be selling into major monthly supports. So major monthly support, to give you that picture, here it is. And I've mentioned this already, but it's worth mentioning for those that maybe weren't there last time I said, when we came up to this low here, when we came up to major resistance, we sold back down. When we came back down to major support, we went back up. When we came to major resistance, once more, we sold off. All right. So for me, we could just simply get support here and move all the way back up to resistance. Just a very large range at the moment. Okay. So we're at historical cheap levels at the moment. So, don't discount where price is at the moment. Don't be suddenly amazed that the US dollar gets weaker and these pairs move up. All right, so I'm just on the fence at the moment on a number of these pairs. So like I was saying on the weekly chart, we're at the profit taking end of the fib. So on the daily here, we actually had a gap down yesterday, a positive day, and a reversal today. So that's looking a little bit reversal-ish at the moment. All right. So 1645, my line here is a monthly level of support that we've broken from way back in time. I'm a little bit confused about that low, to be perfectly honest. Going to the monthly chart, it's this one over here, because on another price feed that I've got, that low isn't down there. So I don't know how accurate that price low is. This was obviously a low that came in when the market was very volatile. And from one broker to another, price can put in a different low point when extreme volatility occurs and, you know, price feeds get very stretched and maybe a little bit illiquid. So I'm just using that low because it's there. So potentially it could act as resistance on the way back up, but I'm just wanted to shout out to you that I'm not entirely sure of the true accuracy of that number. So at the moment, I will be more focusing on if we're still going to be in the hands of maybe the sellers long term, the sellers should hold the market back at 117.60. So we may well see a move back up in the short term to 117.60. We can draw a fib from that top to that low. Let's drop it down to 4 hour. And then you can start to monitor that range. You can start to monitor that weekly level. Can we hold it, say, 117.26 up to 117.60 on a pullback there? If we can't, if we start to move above 117.60, which is that weekly low, we could be getting a severe reversal back up for the longer term. We'll have to wait and see. A message coming in. Cameron, you're seeing 50 pips difference. Yeah, so as I say, with that low, I'm not entirely sure of its 100% accuracy from, you know, one price feed to another, but I'm just going for what the chart says. All right. And it could be true to form with that final low here. That could be slightly different on another broker's feed. So, but the big picture thing to understand is that we're in an area of support where the market is at discount for sure. All right. So we could well, in the short term, we might not get a major change in trend down here at the moment, but we might certainly get a rally, a corrective rally. So we're getting out of that discount area so that sellers can be more comfortable about taking short positions once more. So I'm just monitoring that 4 hour chart at the moment. All right. I'm not seeing anything that I want to engage into the long side. But if I wanted to get short, I'd be monitoring 117.60 area and that 62 fib area at 117.26 at the moment. Okay. We see it's not getting down to the central pivot. You know, if we don't get down to the central pivot point today and you want to start to think about maybe getting to the long side, just monitor the central pivot point tomorrow. When price pulls back intraday, if you start to see good support at the central pivot point, perhaps that's going to be the low for the day for another day up. All right. So there's a potential to get to the long side. You just have to be flexible but disciplined. Don't be buying the high of the day. Don't be buying into some form of resistance. There's another level of resistance there daily at 117.17. That's 100 pips away. So, you know, if you are going to get to the long side, as we're getting that maybe a bit of a corrective move up, just make sure you're trying to get it maybe long at or below the central pivot point on the day. Make sure you're not trading into support, sorry, into resistance. All right. All right. New Zealand yen, it's coming up into a whole bunch of resistance up here. All right. So you can monitor these. These are all weekly tops that I've got drawn in. You can monitor these tops for failure. I'm very bullish on the yen pairs at the moment. So I just think this is probably going to start to want to move into these areas. It's not the best area to be a buyer in with all this resistance. So I'm just going to leave that pair alone. It'd be nice if we were able to get a bought position ahead of resistance, because it's going to be heavy going through that area. So it's not the best area to get into a trade at the moment. All right, but it may well move through those areas, or we may see a failure. So if we see like a clear day chart rejection up there and we're closing back below 86.21, which we're testing today, maybe we're going to move back down. So I'm just monitoring that pair, not seeing anything ideal. Now, New Zealand dollar, might go to my other charts. I put a video out today saying that, you know, we could be putting in a double bottom down there. This is my daily chart fib from that low, 60.47 up to that. So that's a weekly low, that's a weekly high. For the last 3 days, you know, on Friday, we came down to touch that level and we're positive closing for the day. So you just need to decide, do you want to start to engage into the long side on that pair? All right. As I said in my webinar, I like to get in, ideally, at the 79% level before it moves up. So we haven't hit the 79 yet, although we did hit it on Friday, but we're below there at the moment. And, you know, this level could hold to move up. Now, you might want to wait for maybe a more of a bullish structure to form on the 4 hour to give you some confidence that this area is holding. So as I say, I like to get in by the 79% level. It's a bit choppy here at the moment, a bit mixed. You know, this is an ugly looking, but this could be a left shoulder, then a head, and then a right shoulder forming to the right, an inverse head and shoulders. All right. Maybe that's the kind of structure that's forming there on the 4 hour. It's a little bit messy. But, you know, engaging here, putting your stop a little bit below the double bottom. Let's say you were to buy right now at that right shoulder area. And you don't have to risk about 50 pips to have your stop, you know, below that low. Or you could have a wider stop and say risk 100 pips. So you get your stop well below the low in case your price comes down to retest the low point here. You know, so let's just work that out. So that price point at the moment, it's approximately 60.75. Stop could go below 100 pips at 59.75. If you meet the profit target, which is all the way up there, that's 800 pips away. So risking 100 to make 800, or you could maybe risk 50 pips to make 800. You know, risking 100 to make 8, that's a risk reward of 1 to 8. Risking 50, that'd be risk reward of 1 to 16. That would be great risk reward. All right, so you need to make a decision, yes or no, over the next few trading days. Is this support? Is it creating a double bottom for a longer term move up? The first headache really is 62.04, which is monthly resistance. That would be the first headache for and the first hurdle for the pair to move up and above. All right, so still plenty of time to get on board. To maximize your risk reward and profit potential, it's always great to get in before the 79% level, because that's going to maximize your risk reward. Does the DAX affect this pair strongly? Well, if the dollar itself starts to weaken, this is going to move up for sure. So things that are going to affect this, or you're going to show, you know, things that are going to show positivity for this pair is S&P 500 moving up, seeing some weakness on the dollar index, seeing positivity on the Aussie dollar. Now, as I was just saying, let's just look at the New Zealand dollar and the Aussie dollar together. This is potentially showing, you know, a very ugly looking inverse head and shoulders, slightly up from, in fact, there's a couple of head and shoulders there. There's a left shoulder head. You'd say this is a right shoulder. And then within this right shoulder here, there's another one, left shoulder, upside down head, right shoulder. All right, getting your eyes to train what we're seeing. There's a potential of like a double head and shoulders there. Now, this isn't taking out the low here. It's forming some kind of head and shoulder pattern formation there potentially on the 4 hour. On the Aussie, what we're seeing, even though we've been going down because of the interest rate change today, we are holding on support down here. we're kind of false breaking these 4-hour low points here. You know, this is a false break. This is potentially, I'm going to do a webinar shortly on market liquidity, but this is buy side liquidity. If I get the terminology right, let me get the terminology right. This is sell side liquidity here. There's a whole bunch of sell orders underneath here with retail traders. So if an institution is wanting to get long and find lots of orders, it's going to find lots of buy orders underneath here. I beg your pardon. An institution that wants to get long here, it's going to find lots of sell orders because he's going to take the opposite side to those sell orders. The sell orders under here because some retail traders are saying, okay, we're breaking below 4-hour support, so I want to get short. So that's a sell. That's a buy that an institutional trader can take. As well, there'll be some retail traders that are long up here, and they see price break below this low and they decide that they're wrong, so they sell to get out. So there's what they call sell side liquidity here, where an institution could be gobbling up all those sells. So he takes the other side of the sell, which is a buy. And you can see there that we're reversing. So there's a bit of a grab of liquidity there by somebody. So if this starts to hold as triple bottom and move up, we're going to start to see that New Zealand dollar move up. All right. And Cameron, you're saying, so Aussie and New Zealand move similar. Yeah, they're kind of correlated. And like you say, it looks like the hunt of the stops down there. So some institution is down there gobbling up those stops. They're either stops for retail trades to enter short or to close out bought positions because they feel like they're wrong. And you can see now that those stops have been taken, price is trading above the level. It's last week's low as well. So we may well see a reversal down there. And, you know, so if we start to see bullish nature here, you know, this could move up today to, you know, this could now move up. It could pull back and do like a 79% retracement. And then move up, you know. So we start to see bullish structure forming here. That's going to help your New Zealand dollar continue its bullish structure formation. So New Zealand dollar, Aussie dollar correlated, S&P 500 moving up is going to help. Same with gold moving up. That's going to help as well. So consider all those things. All right. Now, of course, this is kind of false breaking as well. This low through here. All right. Potentially, you know, that looks very similar to a bit of a liquidity grab here. All right. Some sell stops are going off. Somebody's buying up all those sell stops. We're moving back above that layer of support there. That could be potentially a very good level to be a buyer at. There's last month's low as well. It's at 60.97. So for those that know the importance of last month's low, we could be false breaking last month's low here to move above it and move all the way back up the range of last month. All right. So all those things to consider. Getting into dollar Canadian, there is the potential of a double top up here. All right, the weekly trend structure here is up. And the key level of support that the market's been operating around is 130.76 on this pair. Continuing with just there. So the question would be, you know, is that going to hold for a move down? This isn't going to be a double top. I would be just sitting on my hands at the moment, waiting to see if we can start to move nicely back below 130.76, because any movement back at the moment for that pair, see how we're holding at last month's high. So we could be holding here at last month's high to move all the way back down the range of last month. However, 130.76, when we moved above it last week, see how it became support, dip back down to be support. Clearly the buyers are watching that level at the moment. So for that day chart to possibly form a double top up here, which would be the inverse of what I'm just saying on the New Zealand dollar. Okay. Let's just draw the fib in. So the price projection is all the way down here. I'd probably want to see this pair. It is putting it a lower top there on the daily. But I'd like to see it want to move back below 130.76. So let's just drop it to the 4-hour chart. I'd like to see 130.76 become resistance once we move below. Becomes resistance for a continued decline. All right. All right, so that's what I would be looking for, because at the moment, even though the day chart might potentially be suggesting is that a double top, you know, see that massive rejection here. So a whole bunch of people sold at the top of that candle there within that week. And that's where we're getting selling pressure at the moment. But support is coming in at 130.76. So I would like to see it back below 130.76 before thinking, okay, the sellers have got control of that pair. But there is a potential. And if that's going to be a double top, from where price is right now, if we were to have a double top and run the course to the target, there is 900 pips. So it doesn't matter if we get in a little bit late and wait for a move back below the support level to get true confirmation that we're not trading into support. There's still ample time and ample pips on the table there. Okay, of course, you can be aggressive and structure something up here to get short. Be aware of the interest rate decision now on, what is it, moving into Thursday. Just go and check the calendar. Pretty sure it's Wednesday, late Wednesday, moving into Thursday on the midnight, when the interest rate decision comes out. That will probably dictate what 130.76 is at the moment. Is it still support, or is it going to become resistance? All right. All right, good dollar yen. This is a difficult pair to get on board. You know, this is my weekly trends. Pull back to the 62. We're already almost at the 127 extension. We're trading into at the moment 141.53, which is, if you go to the monthly chart, squash it in. It's a monthly level of resistance over here. In fact, then there's another one. I should be putting in all my other ones now because we're getting towards those levels. 142.17. 142.17 is the next level after that one. So we're currently testing. It's a minor monthly top there in nature, but it's a monthly top. 141.53. The next one, which folks broke that top, 142.17. And then the one above it, which is a much more significant top, is 147.68. So, you know, we could actually get up to 147.68 if this thing wants to keep chugging along. But like I've been telling you with the pairs to the US dollar, where they're getting to historical levels, we're definitely getting up to historical levels on the dollar yen now, where we could at least have some pause. All right. So as you can see, we're getting into the higher extensions of that weekly move up. All right, so I'm not seeing anything to suggest sell it at the moment, but you know, I'm cautious about being continuing to get in because of we're getting into the profit stage of that fib. All right. Now, you know, like I've been saying with other pairs, to engage, if you can get a tight entry, you know, you could be looking at your 15-minute chart to structure a trade at or below the central pivot point on a day to move back above the central pivot point in an uptrend. So yeah, we're below the central pivot point here today for a while before moving back above. So look for the same scenario to occur tomorrow, if it can get to the central pivot point, because today it's been very, very strong. Okay. All right, so have another final look at gold. For all you gold traders, here's a monthly. question is this monthly level of support through this area here, 1678, is that holding? Because at the moment, the weekly trend's still down, lower tops and bottoms. We've discussed this many times. It's a 62% retracement, and we're potentially coming down to test support. You know, can that move through support to get to 127 extension? All right, the day structure is just remaining. Yesterday, we managed to tag or close to 1727. All right, so it is structurally holding its downtrend at the moment. So if you're selling this pair, just be aware of you are coming into a critical area of support once more. All right, Warren, you're asking me, how do you calculate central pivot? I think it's the high and low of yesterday. Those two figures added together with the close divided by 3. But if you go and Google it, it will tell you. There's plenty of information out there on pivots. But just get my charts. My pivot points are calculated automatically on the charts. They're free to you guys. So just get set up with my charts and then you've got them. You don't need to calculate. All right, so this gold is in a downtrend. Be very aware of where support is. All right. We've of course tagged daily resistance yesterday. You know, it'd be nice. It's not in the perfect spot there to be a seller. It'd be nice to see, like on the 4-hour chart, some form of structure then form where you could see a move down, then see a rally up to like a 62 or 79 to, you know, continue the trend down. So it's not in the perfect spot just to click in, but, you know, looking for that kind of structure to form. By being very aware of its position at the moment, it is getting close back to support. I'd be more inclined right now is if that wants to continue to move down, just let it move down and wait to see what it does at support. Because if it comes down and forms a double bottom, you know, the tack should be then look to trade the double bottom at major support back to the long side. All right, the days to the short side there could be well outnumbered. So for me, I would be looking just from waiting to see what happens down here. What kind of structure forms down here? All right, if you wanted to sell to maybe trade down to see if you could break support, yesterday was the day to get in at the top of that run up to resistance there. Okay, so that's what we're seeing at the moment on gold. It is in a downtrend. It's getting very close to support. The opportunity to trade that may be actually more to the upside if we come down to 1678, and that holds as support and can it form maybe like a double bottom. All right, any more questions? Anything you want to ask me, guys and girls? My voice is just about holding up before it croaks. All right, let's just click through back to my other charts to see what's been going on. All right, Aussie Yen is still moving up. I still feel that Aussie Yen is going to move up and through the area. It's just a matter of time. Difficult to get on board at the moment in such a difficult resistance area. Aussie dollar is getting support down there. So is it getting support there to move back up? I know, yeah, I can have a look at the Euro Aussie as a final one. All right. All right, monthly trend is down. We're on a little bit of support here. All right, I mean, there's a potential of a double bottom here. We obviously need to move above this area of resistance. And uptrend's forming, got a higher top. Maybe it's forming a very higher bottom here to move further up. Four hours definitely up. You know, you could be looking for a 4-hour continuation, looking for a pullback. You know, if you're thinking about getting along this pair, looking for a pullback to 62 to 79, try and engage. So on the bigger scale of things here at the moment, there's the potential of a double bottom. I just readjust my line here. So we're potentially forming a double bottom on the weekly at monthly support over here to the left. All right. So then that weekly level's at 143.20. One, 432. I'll be drawing my fib like so. So there's a potential for a long-term double bottom pattern to form there. You know, target for the double bottom, 200% level up here, kind of coincides with resistance over here. So that would be a good target. All right. That makes sense to you, Annie? What were you thinking? Were you seeing a double bottom there, or you just wanted me to go through it? All good. All right. So looks like it's reversing on the weekly chart there at monthly support. Could be putting in a long-term bottom for a long-term move up. The chart's starting to move into an uptrend there. Like I've said before, with these double bottoms, trying to get in at the 79 area before it starts to move up. It's going to maximize your profit and your risk reward. All right, everybody, any final questions? While you're thinking of a final question, just to give you an update, webinar tomorrow, I'm going to be going through some of the patterns. I've taken you through 4 patterns: the 79% fib retracement pattern, the head and shoulder pattern, the range trade pattern, the double top and double bottom pattern. What I'm going to be doing first Wednesday of each month is having a look back at the month before, because the more that you can use the hindsight to become your foresight. So I'm going to look at a few patterns that formed last month. There could be some that I actually traded myself, but I'm going to pick out the ones that are very prominent that you can review yourself. And we'll look at the market structure that has been forming over the last month, the patterns that have been forming, and, you know, the potential trades that you could have taken if you were, you know, informed and you knew how to trade the pattern. So we'll look at some of the patterns, and we'll look at maybe how you could have gotten in terms of a trade setup, how you could have structured something. So the more that you can see that in hindsight, you can learn from it, and then hopefully put it into practice live when you're looking at your charts. So that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So if you've already got a pattern that you'd like me to look at, so for those that know about the patterns, if you've traded one successfully or unsuccessfully, or there's one there that you've seen, I might not cover it because I can't cover everything. I'm just going to cover the ones that jump out to me, but you may have seen something else that I haven't seen that you think's a pattern in that 4 group of patterns. Then just shout it up. We can go through it. All right. So I'll probably have, I don't know, half a dozen ones that I'm going to go through. And then anything else that anybody shouts up. And I'll take your questions and we'll go from there. But just really a learning phase of, you know, the more you can see the patterns, as I've shown you today, potentially some double bottom patterns forming. You know, on that New Zealand dollar tonight, there's the potential of, where was it? There's a potential of, you know, that little head and shoulder pattern forming here to help you get in for this upward move potentially. You know, is that Aussie dollar? You know, next month I could be talking about the Aussie dollar, saying that it formed a 79% fib pattern to the upside on that weekly scale. And what we were seeing on the 4-hour chart was down at the 79% area, a false break of support, a grab over liquidity by the, the larger traders, grabbing all those sell orders. They're doing the buy side. Sell orders are getting executed by the retail traders. They're grabbing the buys. Look at that reversing down there already. It's already moving back up. All right. Is that the bottom of the month? All right. This is, I'm not trading this right now because I'm giving you guys a webinar, but if I was just sitting here on my own, I'd be looking at this level very closely because this looks like it's a complete false breakdown there at the moment at a very key level in terms of the fib and day chart support. If you traded pretty much where the false break was occurring at the moment, you'd already be up 12 pips. You could get that up 20 pips and get the risk out, and then you're just waiting to see if it works. You can be aggressive as long as you're aggressive at the right point in time in the chart. All right, so you can monitor that. We can review that at some point, probably Thursday. All right, everybody. So if you want to go through the review of last month and all the good patterns that you can maybe take some snapshots of and review so that you can put it into practice for the current month, then just go and register your interest and get on board for that webinar tomorrow. Other than that, thanks everybody for attending. Plenty of people turned out tonight, so thanks very much. Hopefully you got some good levels you can watch. You got the ideas of where the trends are moving at the moment. Some of those pairs, just a question of waiting for a nice logical level to look for a pullback on some of those yen pairs. All right, everybody, stay safe, have a good day wherever you are. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow if you've got the time.